Hello everyone, my name is Jackie Ballheis. I'm so excited to share some projects with you and hopefully teach you a few tips and tricks along the way. Now, I have been stamping and making cards and teaching card making for over 30 years. That just seems insane to me. But I've always had a motto, and that is card making should be simple. Now, some of you might think, oh gosh, she's gonna be boring. Simple cards are boring. Well, I don't feel that way, and I hope that by the end of my presentation, you don't feel that way anyway, either. We're all busy people, right? And sometimes we just need quick and simple. So even if you love creating over the top, there's those times, quick and easy, but we're gonna make it not boring. Now, I truly believe that when you combine simple stamping and a great layout, maybe add an embellishment or something, you can create that card really quick. And that's what I'm all about. Now, when I create, I love to use templates. Now you might be saying, what is a template? Well, other people have called them sketches or patterns or layouts. I've just kind of fallen on the term template. So just so we're all kind of on the same page. Now, so really what is it? Well, for years, just like probably many of you, I've searched Pinterest and searched all over the place, and I'll find, card sketches, I guess, is probably a more common term, and I'll find them, and I'll look at them, and I'm like, I'm not really sure what to do with it, because it's a drawing, okay? Usually there's no measurements, usually there's no samples. My brain doesn't work that way. I need measurements, and then I can deviate and change them a little bit if I have something to start with. And the same with, I need to see a completed card so that I can vision what this really looks like. So I started making myself templates, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. We are going to make a template together. Well, actually 3. Same one. I'm going to show you how to make it in different sizes, and then I'm going to show you how to use it to create cards with. And hopefully along the way, some of the tips and tricks I share will help you to see templates or sketches or whatever a little bit differently. And hopefully you'll make the one that I share with you and use it, because it's truly designed for any stamps, ink, or paper. That's kind of my philosophy with everything. You got a good template, any stamps, ink, and paper should be able to be used with it to create some quick and easy cards, but we're not going to make them boring. At least I hope not. So without further ado, let's go ahead and flip this camera down, because I'm excited to share with you today. Okay, like I said, the first thing we're going to do is make our template, because again, I struggled with just seeing drawings. So I like to make like actual templates, and I make them out of neutral cardstock so that my brain doesn't like gravitate to the colors I use, and it helps me use them with anything. So now for my card base, when I make a template, I just use a 1/4 sheet. So it's the same card size front as a normal card. So 4 1/4, 5 1/2. Now for this particular one, our focal layer is going to be 3 inches by 4 1/4. And we are going to layer it on to a piece that is 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. So just that 1/8 inch larger. So as we're going, focal layer, we just have that coordinating layer underneath it. And then for this template, we're going to use 3 strips. They are 3 by 3/4. Each one's the same, 3 by 3/4. Now, when I design and make my cards, normally the intent here is for this to be a designer series paper, a pretty printed paper. Or you could use colored cardstock, embossed cardstock. Don't limit yourself. That's why I'm trying to keep this like super neutral. Okay, so we're going to stick those on there. And then this is what my actual, oh, that slid, didn't it? Let's slide it back there. Okay, I love using the liquid adhesive because it slides, but I also hate it because it slides. So there we go. And then we are just going to stick this on to our card front. Now, this again, this is the basic template or sketch. So now when we create, we can start with this and with these measurements, and then we'll dress it up however we want. Now, to me, the really important part of making your templates is writing your measurements on them. So I like to just flip it over, and I'm going to write on here, my base is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, or 11 times 4 1/4. Okay, and then the focal layer is 3 by 4 1/4. My coordinating layer is 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. And then we need strips that we need 3 of them, 3 times 3/4. So now I literally have like hundreds of these templates, and I have them in like a little shoebox type thing. So when I go to create, I can flip through them depending on, if I have kind of a vision in my head what I want to make, and use that as my pattern to create with. So why don't we do that? Why don't we make a card using this? So let's just set it right up here so we can see where our reference point is. Now, I will say I did pre-cut my pieces, okay, so that I just followed my measurements on here. Now, quick before I start stamping, let's go back to this. I created it this way, but remember, a template can be used this way, or this way, or this way, or that way. And I think that's another reason why I like having these physical templates instead of a drawing, because now that I'm ready to start stamping, I can go, which way do we want to do this? And we're actually going to go this direction for this first card that I have to make for you. And again, I like to keep things super simple, but hopefully simple doesn't mean boring. So we've stamped our focal layer on there. And then I have just some pieces of designer series paper. And again, these are that 3/4 by 3. And we'll start by putting one way over. See, I'm building it just like our template. Put a little adhesive on there. We'll put all 3 strips. Ooh, I probably should have moved my flower over just a little bit, but that's okay. You never know how it's going to turn out, right? Okay, so that's going to go there. And then we're going to go ahead and stick this on here. There's our black layer. Now, I love to use black. I use black on, oh gosh, probably 90% of my cards. It's kind of become a joke with some people that Jackie always layers with black. And it's because it goes with everything. We always have all these gorgeous colors that coordinate. But sometimes it's, I don't know, color just gets to be a little bit too much, and you don't know, like, what color should I really layer with? And that's why black has become my go-to. Now, remember, I said we can step it up just a little bit by adding ribbon and or an embellishment. Now, I use linen thread all the time. You could use ribbon. I have some other samples that I'll show you here that I've used some ribbon. But I love the linen thread the best, especially if you struggle to make bows. I struggle. Linen thread, and I should note, see how I tied it upside down? I have found that by tying upside down, making those loops a little bigger than I need, and then adjusting them, helps me tie a better bow. So there we go. So there is that. Now, before I put the stamp away, I'm going to grab my inside layer. I'm kind of a stickler when I create that I always want to create the inside. I always think something's got to be stamped in there, and something has to be in the envelope. No naked envelopes. We don't want to send naked envelopes. They're boring. So we'll stamp those right away, because then we can kind of get rid of that ink pad for a second. Then let's come back to, we need our card base for this. So let's grab our paper trimmer. Now, I have a little trick to share with you. Maybe you've seen this before, but if you're going to make a lot of card bases, 8.5 by 11, we can cut it in half that way or that way. I like to actually take that 8.5 by 11 and score it first. So we're scoring at 4 1/4, and then we're going to spin it around and cut it at 5 1/2. So that easily now I have 2 card bases, 1 score, 1 cut. And then we're just going to fold that in half like so. Let's bring in our focal layer, and we're going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals. I think adding layers with dimensionals is one of those things that takes your card from that boring simple to really beautiful simple. I guess I like to say my cards are simple and classic, not simple and boring. So we can go ahead and we're going to add that right there. So now that the card needs a greeting, we're going to bring in our embossing supplies. Again, a lot of times I will do my greeting on black with white embossing powder, because once again, I'm talking limited supplies. You don't need everything, but you can, if you have black and white, it's gonna go on everything. Now, if you haven't done a whole lot of heat embossing, just a few tips. I always like to use what's called the embossing buddy and rub it on my cardstock first, because that will eliminate those speckles of embossing powder sticking where you don't want them to stick. And then we will use the Versamark pad. We need a good embossing ink, something that's sticky and slow drying. And I'm going to do 2 while I'm at it here. And then let's take white embossing powder. Just dump it freely over that, shake it into our little tray. Ooh, we caught a little edge on that stamp. Look at that. That's okay, because we're going to die cut it and you're not even going to see that. And then we can take our tray. I like using a tray like this because now I can super easy just scoop all that embossing powder right back down into our bottle. And then we can stick this aside and grab our heat tool. Let's see, so many things here, right? Okay, heat tool. And again, when you're heat embossing, hope you can still hear me over this. Once this gets heated up here, it'll go really quick. Make sure you move your heat source around, and as it starts to get that shiny raised look, keep moving it and stop. Don't overheat it. I think we all have this tendency like, ooh, if I just heat it a little bit longer, it's gonna be better. But it's not. It actually will flatten out and not look nearly as nice. So you can see the shine. When it's shiny and all shiny, it's done. Okay, then we're just gonna take a die and go and cut these out. And then I'm gonna do that off camera because I just don't have room right here. Okay, there we go. Look at that, we die cut that little edge I caught off of there. Then let's go ahead and take this and we'll use a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of it. Again, give it that pop and peel those off. And then for this, let's just go ahead and go, almost stuck it upside down. Did you see that? We're gonna go ahead and go about right there. Okay, now for our inside, we already stamped our flower on that, but let's grab our black ink and we're gonna stamp a greeting on here as well. Let's just put that right there. Doesn't always have to be in the middle. Sometimes when you offset things and make it a, you know, a little bit different than normal, it kind of adds that fun little touch to it. Okay, we're going to layer that on black as well. Yeah, like I said, don't forget about those insides of your cards. Make those pretty and special as well. So we'll flip that. Oh, we got dimensional stuck in there. And then, I mean, I've even been known to put dimensionals on the inside of my cards, but we won't for this one. Okay, so there is our first card using the template. Now, before we move on, I want to bring back the envelope because, you know, I said no boring envelopes. So a lot of times I stamp on them. The other thing I always like to do, or I shouldn't say always, but quite often, is we're going to take adhesive and stick it on that envelope flap. And take another piece of that designer series paper that coordinates, stick it on there really good. This one I like to just give it a good press and then flip it over and then just use your little paper snips and you can cut right around the edge. And this also helps make those envelopes pretty. You know, it's more fun when people go to the mailbox and instead of getting bills and boring junk mail, they get not only a beautiful card, but it comes in a pretty envelope. So there's the first card using our template. And you can see how we simply turned it that way. Now, just kind of quick here, I want to go ahead and put together a second one for you, just to show you how we can change things up a little bit. So again, here was our template. Now we could go, you know, whatever direction with it, right? So for this one, what I want to do is we're going to go this way, okay, kind of the way we made it, I think. And we're going to use this leaf stamp. So this will be more of a masculine card. I know if you're like me, I always struggle doing masculine. So we're going to stamp it one time, kind of over towards the left, and then we'll stamp it a second time. I do that quite often. I feel like it gives you your ink a little bit more value because you kind of have two colors in one instead of having a dark green and a light green. And then here's those strips, same size strips. What were they, 3/4 by 3, I believe. But this time I am only going to use 2 of them. Okay, you don't have to use all three. And again, that's the beauty of these patterns. I mean, don't get 100% stuck on that template that it has to be like that. Depending on what you're making and what you're doing, you may want to change it just a little bit. So for this one, you'll see we did 3. And then because I think all cards need linen thread, we're gonna go ahead. It's kind of my form of stepping up a card, super easy. I like to just wrap it around twice. Make sure when you trim it, you give yourself enough. Don't cut it too short because then it's really hard to tie. And then I think I just did this without really explaining last time. I tie upside down. I think, and I do this with regular ribbon as well. It helps, for me at least, my tails to come down and my loopies to go up. So it works for me. So if you have trouble with bows, go ahead and give that a try. So there's that one. Remember, we made the second card base already, so we were all ready for this one. So let's go ahead, stick these on here. So now again, I'm using the same stamp set for everything that I share with you today. And I did that intentionally to show you how using a template, you can do different things with it and it'll work with any stamps, paper, and ink. So I didn't want to show you a lot that you get so stuck on the actual stamps that I'm using. It's more about using for the layout here. And then since we made a happy birthday, we'll just do both of these happy birthdays. So we can go ahead and we'll take this one. And gosh, I almost put upside down again. That's crazy. We'll stick it right there like so. Bring in our inside pieces. Now the stamp, I don't know if I showed you this when I stamped it the first time. This is probably my most used stamp in the whole world. I didn't forget your birthday. I'm just stretching out the celebration. I don't think there's a single person that gets a birthday card from me on time. So again, we'll put a couple leaves, a couple different colors down there at the bottom just to carry our little theme all the way. And our adhesive. And then I'm going to bring both back in here and we'll add a couple little embellishments. Just, you know, to show you that we could keep this as plain and simple. I mean, I wouldn't need the linen thread on there. I wouldn't need the Stampin' Dimensionals. But there you go. So there is that one. I have an envelope I did already. So there's our matching envelope for each of them. And you'll see, let's keep our template here. Now let's just grab some embellishments. You know, I said we don't want cards to be boring, and simple doesn't have to be boring. So the one thing that I like to add, let's see here, get some, take your pick tool. I got some putty on there for picking up embellishments. So I like to add some type of embellishment, and I usually add it in 3s. Again, something I learned probably many years ago. It's kind of a rule of thirds for art. So we just added 3 little rhinestones. So we stepped it up. So again, simple design, could make it as simple as you want, but we stepped it up. Linen thread, embellishments, the little bit of embossing. Since this is masculine, I don't think we should put rhinestones on it. So let's go ahead and just grab some of these little guys. Let's see, I think we'll just use this color. The same thing, we'll just add 3 of these on here. Kind of in a triangle. Oh, that one's stuck on there funny. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so there is that one. Okay, so let's move some things here. So there is your template, and there's 2 cards just done a little bit differently. Now, I've done some other things here already that I want to share with you. Let's see here. Oh, let's bring this one in. You can see there, I like that one better. I stamped my flower a little bit better. So you see more of that one as the focal image. Now, we're going to go ahead and make another template because I want to show you that this one template, we can stretch this into multiple templates, so to speak. So this time we're going to make a slimline card. So for this, our card front would be 9 by 3 3/4. So we had to just adjust all the different sizes. So our focal layer here is going to be 8 1/4 by 3. Oh, wrong piece. It's gonna go on here. And then we have, what's our black one here? This would be 8 3/8 by 3 1/8. And then again, we're going with 3 strips, but because we made this card a little bit bigger, these are gonna be 1 inch wide. So it's the same template design, but we've made it bigger for a different size and shape of card. So it just kind of shows how you can change things up. And then we're going to put it on here. Okay. And once again, make sure you write your measurements on. Let's see, let's get that centered on there. Okay, there we go. So I already did some of this because I had one made already. But again, I wrote the measurements right on the back of them to make them very user-friendly when I go to create a card. Now, you've seen me do the basic stamping, so we don't need to do all that again. But I wanted to bring in and show you how the exact same card design, okay, just stretched it out with a different size for my template, same basic template. And here's the card I made with that one. Just had more of stamping area for the focal point, and then more on the inside as well. Now, some people, if you've never made slimline cards, I love this size. And what I like to do, because I'm not good at making my own envelopes, I actually just use regular office envelopes. That's why that size fits perfectly in them. But you can still make them pretty, add some paper on them, do some stamping on them, and there's your card. Then I went ahead and I made a big one as well with the flowers. So you can see here where, again, same template design. We just kind of turned it that way. I added, a prettier, bigger bow on there, a little bit bigger greeting because we've got more space, but otherwise everything is the same. Easy peasy. And then there is the inside of that one. And again, our matching envelope to go with it. So are you seeing the value of the templates? I mean, that's, if nothing else, that's what I really wanted to be able to teach you today, is how when you create templates from those sketches, or maybe you even make a card that you really enjoy, make a template of it so that you can come back and use that same design. Now, I have one more for you because I'm just one of these people, I can't stop at one. So let's go ahead and make one more template. So if you're creating along with me, you'll be able to have 3 different templates, pretty much the same card design, but they're different sizes. So this time I wanted to create one that would fit on a 3.5 by 5 inch note card because I use that size a lot. So for this one, our focal layer is 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. Okay, and then our strips are just a 1/2 inch. So we did 3/4 and then we did 1 inch, and now we're doing a 1/2 inch. And we'll stick those on there. And once again, we're creating it as a template. So here is my first one. Wrote the measurements on the back. Okay, let's do that. And more show and tell. So you can see here where I took that template. I've got the same basic design for all of these cards. And this time we didn't emboss. We kept it a little bit simpler. But there is that one with our envelope. And then for this one, I just turned it this way. Put those little stripes over on the right instead of the left. And there's that one. So let's see. We've got our note card size template. And then if you like this whole concept of making cards, please make sure to check out my website because I actually have 2 different books over there that you can purchase that are all about templates. One has 48 different templates like these that you can just follow the book, or you can make the physical templates, which is what I really like to do. I also have a fun fold template book. So it shows you how to make 54 different easy templates that are all fun folds. So check that out on my website. Hope you've enjoyed this presentation, picked up on some tips. I am all about making quick and easy cards, but that doesn't have to be boring. So hopefully those tips will help you as well. And most importantly, I hope you like the idea of using templates and that you make these and use them. And then, like I said earlier, if you love this whole concept of templates, make sure to check out my website, klompenstanfers.com. You'll find 2 different books filled with templates and lots of tutorials as well. But don't forget, the most important thing about making cards is to send them. Make someone's day. Put happy mail in your mailbox. Don't just make them and stash them. So brighten someone's day. So thanks for watching, everybody. So until I get to stamp with you again, have a stamp happy day.